Hello, my name is Derek Burke. I'm going to be talking about Mitel Performance Analytics, or MPA, in today's presentation, and I'll be transitioning over into a live demo as well at certain points. What is MPA? MPA is a monitoring tool that is designed for your Mitel system and also devices that are outside of the Mitel environment. Where it fits is inside the fault and performance monitoring and system maintenance sections of any product suite. So when you think of your typical system, or a Mitel system specifically, system configuration, customer user administration, user self-service, these are all features that MPA does not actually manage at all. We, again, focus primarily on fault and performance monitoring as well as system maintenance. Our main goal is to prevent and detect problems before the end user sees them. So by proactive monitoring any system, we're going to be able to see when an event is going to happen, an impending event is going to happen. If you're running out of RAM on your call control or your MyCollab server, whatever it happens to be, as that processes are being consumed, we'll be generating alarms that are basically defined by thresholds that you set as a consumer. And then it allows you to be proactive in troubleshooting that problem that is coming up. And obviously troubleshooting is a big piece of this, and management for insights. So we have a lot of reporting that's baked into the system as well. The troubleshooting pieces that we have baked into the system are remote access. We have testing tools with our probes, or we can do network testing from one probe to another, across your network, across the public network. It doesn't make any difference. And then obviously we can also have a IP telephony user dashboard, and then UC network testing. So some of the key benefits that we have in MPA are basically, around the clock monitoring of your voice quality and other performance metrics, monitoring of Mitel and third-party vendor systems, alerting the right people when you're approaching different thresholds. We basically prevent problems from happening because it allows your tech support team to be proactive rather than reactive. And then obviously secure and remote access to devices. Now, I know a lot of organizations have concerns around security when we talk about remote access. This is something that can actually be disabled in the system. When you install the platform and you're installing the probe, you can actually enable or disable the remote access feature. So you can turn that off if you don't trust it. Oh, I missed one too far. We work heavily around driving user satisfaction, right? By consistently being able to give a high quality of service for your end users, that's going to increase faith in the system and your organization as well. First time resolution is one of the main things that we try to drive towards by making you aware of a problem before it becomes noticeable to the end user. Early detection and reports that show you what's happening from a network perspective is also another very handy tool, where we have the ability to determine if you have a switch that is failing, or a router, or whatever networking device that happens to be causing a problem affecting the call quality that you experience. We can determine what those devices are, and we actually have the ability to identify that device, find out whether it's inserting packet loss, jitter, latency, whatever it happens to be. You'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to troubleshoot that particular device that's causing you VQ issues or voice quality issues. At the end of the day, what that does is it reduces costs of operating the entire system. When you're experiencing less downtime, you're able to increase user productivity. So the remote access piece gives you the ability to access devices at any location. Obviously, we're going to be avoiding losses associated with downtime. We can consolidate your UC and network performance management tools into one offering. We improve capacity planning with your trunk utilization. And then it's easy to deploy on cloud or in-premise. So the features that we have here on this slide, it is pretty much a comprehensive feature based upon the call control along the top. So you can see the feature, the MPA tier, and then the call control as we go from left to right along the top. Now, the features, starting with remote access and ending with air gap system deployment, these are all the different features that we have in the system right now. And then on the MPA tier column, you can see a number of them are MPA and Plus. Now, if you are an on-premise installation, you have everything. It's only in cloud where we have this split between MPA and MPA plus. So if you do have a cloud deployment where we run the cloud server in AWS servers around the globe, but if you choose down the cloud platform, your premium software assurance will give you everything from remote access to teleworker quality and SIP trunk voice quality. SIP DECT and OMM support, right? So where it says MPA and plus. So those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items right there included in premium software assurance. And then if you want the teleworker VQ and SIP trunk VQ all the way down to air gap system deployment, that's part of plus. It's just an additional part that needs to be ordered through Mitel. Here you can see some of the dashboards that we have, right? We have the ability to see critical data at a glance. We have detailed dashboard views. It's all connected via HTTPS and SSL. We support the standard browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. And then there's a read-only option for widescreen use for like a NOC if you have a NOC and things of that nature. I'm going to show you that live right now. So this is actually a live system, and we're looking at a demo system which has a number of alerts that are happening. Here we can see a live map of the globe, and we're looking at all the different data centers that we have. These red dots mean that there's a critical failure somewhere inside of that particular location, or a critical alarm has been triggered, not necessarily a failure, an alarm has been triggered. If it was a major alarm, it would be this orange triangle. If it was only a minor alarm, it would be the yellow triangle. Here you can see there's a green check mark at this location, so this means that there's no problems at that location. But at a glance, you can see I have a whole bunch of information available to me as a technician or as an administrator of the system. As I scroll down, I have more data where I can see, new alarm rates. All these graphs are interactive. If we only want to focus in on critical alarms, we can deselect the others, and now we're only seeing our critical alarms. And finally, we can scroll a little bit further and we can see voice quality, where we're looking at IP phones, teleworkers, our SIP trunks, our soft phones, MyCloud soft phones, so we can look at this data from the near side versus far end, LAN or WAN. And this bottom table is basically just looking at all the alarms that are coming in from all the different containers that we have. And these are the containers on the left-hand side here. So like Mitel demo, the Mitel EMEA demo. Now, we were talking earlier about a read-only mode, right? And that's what basically all of these are. Just real quick also to note, the device here, I can jump immediately to this device. So as an example, if I had a license embedded voicemail threshold and we wanted to go directly to this device, I can actually click on this and it will bring us directly to that device. I can go to the container, right? So if there's a child container, or I can go to the grandchild container. So I can basically go directly where I need to go immediately. So like here's Mitel demo and there's Mitel demo. And if I drill down further, I have the 3.5 EFT, which is here. And I can drill down even further, and I could somewhere inside here is a My Voice Business hosted, MIVB hosted, is in one of these other next child down containers. When we talk about a NOC view, right, a Network Operations Center view, here we can take a look at the comprehensive NOC. So here, this is just a read-only. This might be something that you might have up on a wall board, and we're just focusing in on the top things that you would normally want to see inside a NOC. So here we can see, we have the legend here showing us the total number of different types of alerts that are happening. Here you can actually see the alarms that are being generated, the new alarm rate, and then obviously the voice quality as well. So pivoting back to the slide deck, here we talked a bit about alarms and notifications already. So we can manage our alarms. They're color-coded. You can assign them to an individual. You can assign them to yourself. There is a very basic ticketing system that's built into MPA. If you choose to integrate in with a third-party MPA, third-party ticketing system, we do have APIs available for that. So if you have ServiceNow, Zendesk, or some other third-party ticketing system, we can actually integrate in with that and generate tickets automatically from MPA. One of the nice things about the API is that it will consolidate like alerts. So if you have a system that, let's say it's gone down because you're rebooting it for whatever reason, that's going to generate an awful lot of alarms inside of MPA. We will actually only create a single alarm stating that the system is down. So when you go into your ticketing system, you're not going to see one ticket for every single alert that came in. We can alert by email by default and also SMS. For those of you that are looking for an on-premise installation, SMS would require an internet access to be able to reach out to Twilio for that configuration. And then obviously on the right-hand side, we have the different types of alarms where they can be device alarms, which are alarms that are basically SNMP traps directly out of the devices, threshold alarms, and then system alarms. I talked a bit about containers and device dashboards. So if you remember on the left-hand side, I had like the Mitel demo, look like a folder. That's actually a container. It's a repository of data. And you can see that what's included in those containers are alarms, your voice quality reports, your UC performance metrics, the geographical or even a network map, and then container-based multi-tenancy. So if you had 15 locations, you could have one main container with your company name and 15 locations down below that. And each one would have its own set of devices inside there. So some of the reports that we have available, we can take a look at performance reports, availability of devices over a period of time. You can customize reports and keep them for yourself, or you can share them to others in your organization. They can be downloaded via PDF and sent out via email. The duration of the reports can be monthly, weekly, or on demand. We can do quick queries. We can also do scheduled reports. We can do previews and retain them and obviously send them out by email as well. Here is a list of some of the reports. Now, this is a abbreviated list. This is not everything that's inside the system. I do want to point out that, we do have the concept of user rights in the platform. So when you think about your container situation where you have your company name and maybe 15 locations, you may have a UC administrator at one of your locations and you want him to manage 4 locations. You can actually set him up as a user or her as a user and grant them access to whatever containers that they are supposed to have access to, and you can define what they're able to do, right? So if you want to have them to only be able to look at licensing, you can set that up. If you want them to have full control, you can set that up. There's very granular control on that. There are audit reports that are available, voice quality reports, which are very, very important because that's really is what's going to tell you whether the system is performing well or not. We have the ability to do device discovery as well. So when we are creating those containers inside of MPA, we can actually just run a wizard to go out and query your network and do basically a discovery of all the different Mitel devices that you have out there, and it'll pull them into the system. Makes it very easy for setup. Our network diagrams we integrate in with Visio, and you actually have the ability to do things like drill into individual devices. I'm going to show you that real quick. So I'm going to hop back into my NOC view here. So now we're back inside our demo system, and if I go into the France My Voice business, we can scroll down a little bit here, and as this loads, you can see I have a Visio diagram that's embedded here. I can make this larger if I want to, but I can see here where I have a green check mark, which means this device is functioning well. Here I have a red dot, which means that this has a critical alarm on it. And this one has that orange down triangle, which means that it has a major alarm. If I want to, I can actually select this and get some additional data, right? So here I can see why this alarm is showing up. So, the test results, a SIP call test has had at least one failure. And again, I have the ability to go directly to these different devices. So this is an MPA probe in Guyan Court. If I select this, it drills down directly to that device. So here you can see here's my root, the Mitel demo container, the France My Voice business subcontainer, the subcontainer of Mitel FR, and then here's the probe that we're actually attached to. Now coming back into the slide deck. So we also support inside the system when we talk about having users being able to log in and access things inside of MPA. If you have the remote access feature enabled on the system, you can actually control that, by user as well. It can grant them remote access users access or not. But we can also set up multi-factor authentication. So you have the ability to set up MFA on the system to give you an added layer of security. Here's the remote access piece that we've been talking about. No VPNs required. We can connect to multiple network devices at once. Single-click access to monitored devices. It's secure. We support SSH, SSL, HTTPS, RDP. There's a number of different protocols that we leverage. I'll show you that real quick here because this is actually done in the probe. So here, this probe is monitoring all of these devices. I can select, say, the My Voice business, and we know that we connect to a My Voice business via HTTPS. If I had a MX1, I could select the MX1 and use whatever protocols are required there. I create the connection, and this does not mean that I'm connected to it yet. All I've done is just create this connection. This will automatically close after 30 minutes if it's not in use. I can manually close it, but I can also simply click open, and this brings me directly into the management interface for that My Voice business. And here we can see, it's prompting me for a username and password to log into this particular platform. But I'm not going to do that right now. Again, this is just a demo. Now, coming back into the slide deck, I do want to be cognizant of time, so I'm going to do a little bit less demoing now and just kind of work my way through our slides here. Monitoring, we spoke a bit about this. Here we're able to grab system information. We can see server performance metrics, whether or not the system is reachable, performance thresholds, licensing information on the servers as well. And this information you can gather from pretty much any call control that we have connected to the system. We also have the ability to monitor devices on your network. Under call servers, you notice the MX1 is the second device that is listed in call servers. The applications that we monitor today, the Border Gateway, the MyCollab server, and MyCollab Advanced Messaging. We work with My Contact Center, My Voice call recording, and interaction recording. We are working on integrating in with My Contact Center Enterprise Softphone right now. That's something that we're working on today, and that we're hoping to have that before the end of the year. So that's going to be coming very shortly. Voice quality is one of the most important things that we're able to gather out of the system. When we are calculating voice quality, we are using R factor to calculate out whether or not a call is good. We actually have the ability to go into an individual user and take a look at every single one of their calls. So as you take a look under call records here, we can see that this call is highlighted in red. This is on an individual user. We can drill in and see what happened on that call. So here you can see the detailed voice quality that we can see on the call, where things started to go bad, when it happened, and basically it just gives us a lot of information to start doing some accurate troubleshooting. You notice here we can even run some commands against systems as well. Here we can see kind of an aggregate information, right? So here we're looking at the number of calls throughout a day, right? So here's basically the number of calls on the side, the total call volume on the side, and this is basically time on the corner. And we have the blue line just giving us an outline of when our peak hours are, and then obviously how many are bad calls, how many are poor calls. And you notice up top we've turned off the fair good as well, right? So we leave the call volume line in there just to give you a visual representation of what's happening from the phone system and your call quality standpoint. Here we're looking at troubleshooting and doing some testing. So when I was looking at the probe earlier and we were looking at the probe for remote access, the probe is also where we will do that testing I was referring to earlier, where we're maybe doing a SIP call test, we're doing trace routes between two probes to see where you have a device that's injecting latency onto your network. But here you can see, the system is context aware using those probes. Tests from basically IP sets back to the probe. We're doing ping, traceroute, MTR, IFTOP. We do DNS, reverse DNS, SNMP MIB browsers baked into the system as well. We can do remote IP set network testing tools. We have different connectivity tests that we can do, and then there's IP SLAs that can test against your trunk provider that you can leverage. And these tests, you can actually have them run at whatever cadence that you need. You can have them run over a period of hours, days, weeks, whatever you need. So like I mentioned early on, the systems can be deployed in the cloud and then also on-premise. When we look on the left-hand side where it has MPA cloud, you can see what data we're able to capture or the architecture of what it looks like, and when it's on-premise, it's very similar, but all the data just goes directly to the MPA server. So here you can see the SIP trunk utilization report that we have. We can monitor the traffic on the SIP trunks. We can know when it's time to scale or add additional SIP trunks to your system. We can alert on high utilization, and you can see when you're experiencing, bad calls on the SIP trunks as well. We also have support for your SIP deck devices as well. We can report on those, generate alarms on those. You can set thresholds on those as well. So as those SIP deck devices are moving around the network, you can see where you have bad, dead spots and things of that nature as well. Some of the MPA Plus features that we have in the system. So teleworker VQ and SIP trunk VQ, right? So this is, again, we're looking at the MPA Plus features. So if you're looking at on-premise, you will have all of this. In cloud, you'd have premium software assurance and the MPA Plus add-on license. But again, on-premise installations, you get everything. Here you can see the teleworker composition in the bottom right-hand side here, letting you know how many are teleworker sets and how many are standard IP sets. And then you can see, 34.8% of VQ problems come from teleworker devices in this particular system. Here we can see soft phone voice quality. Again, this is the MyCloud soft phone. We're hoping to have by the end of the year the My Contact Center Enterprise soft phone in these charts as well. We're actively working on that. Here's some additional information on soft phone voice quality, more data and more reporting on what we have available. Queries that give you a comprehensive view of all the VQ data, soft phone VQ as evident by the user agent column, which is over here, VQ results by specific sites, and then you can see your worst performing DNs or devices. This is a voice quality report where you can see this blue line represents the average of what's going on. These are all the data points that we have in the system. It's not an average, I apologize. These are the actual data points of the quality of the calls that you have, and you notice that anything that's below 90% is considered a bad call. Anything from 95 to 90 is considered a poor call, and if 95% and above, as far as an R factor calculation is concerned, has to be considered a good call, right? So basically, the very top end of a call is the only way that we will mark the entire call as being good. If you have one segment of a call that drops below 90%, we mark that as a bad call. So you can see here, this guy has a number of poor calls, right? This was obviously a very, very bad call here. We can break down the score based upon container. And here you can see the VQ score per container. We can even drill down and look at it by a subnet or even the individual user. Here we can see external calls composition, external call VQ, 16% of external calls are bad here. The teleworker composition, right, and then the soft phone. Basically what we're doing here is taking a look at this on this slide is we're taking a look at the AWV ports, right, so audio, video, web. Basically you can see, the reports that we have that can be downloaded, email, printed, and we have metrics, and you can see the data. We're looking at a usage where we can see the audio, the web and video, and then obviously enhanced audio, video if they have that as well. There's no enhanced video on this one. On this particular screen, but it does give you that data as well, so you can monitor what's happening in your AWV system. Emergency response. So when someone dials your emergency number, right, so in the United States or North America, it's 911. I know in other parts of the world it's different digits, but when that is triggered, we can also generate alarms automatically to be emailed out to whoever is the administrator of the system. So you can have, beyond just the emergency notification group that you have in your call control, we can augment that with MPA and expand that to a wider group if you want. And then obviously you can include the people that are, in that same group that's on your call control, that are programmed on your call control. Here you can see we have user set and service inventories as well. These are reports that are ran against the call controls, and we can pull the data from that and give that data to you right off the bat, which is very nice. Here's the IP telephony user dashboard. We have the ability to search by a username, their extension, and this is where we can start driving in to see, the number of calls that they have. This is where we can see, whether or not they had bad calls and start pivoting into voice quality reports as well directly from here. Here you can see network testing that we're having. We spoke a bit about this earlier. Here's like a voice quality graph for all the agents. Now the agents would be, the testing agents that you have. And these individual little dots represent the values of the call, whether they're good or bad, right? And again, this is all based off R factor. So, anything that's 95 or better is considered good. 95% of the call or better is a good call. 95 or below, 95 to 90 is going to be poor, and anything 90 or below is considered a bad call. So we do have third-party device support, and we also will have SNMP MIB uploads now. So basically, if you have a server or a network device that has a MIB table, you can import it into the platform and generate thresholds, right? You can create thresholds off of that and generate alarms, I should say. So you can bring in your third-party systems. They don't necessarily have to be Mitel. They can be third-party as well. We do have a case study here. So University of Massachusetts in Boston. So MPA told the voice quality of every call for every user. They made it faster and easier to troubleshoot and reported problems. Their MX1 and contact center are mission critical to the success of the operation of the university. And with MPA Plus, we can stay ahead of the voice quality problems to ensure every call is a successful one for our more than 5,000 users. MPA Plus gives us the ability to be proactive and not reactive to issues. Many times we can solve a problem before any users are even aware. So here you can see, the problem that they had was every Thursday at 8 a.m. an MX1 generated an alarm, which resulted in calls not being sent to the university's billing system for about 10 minutes. Beyond solving, their mystery as to why that was happening, we were able to give the university deep visibility it needed to prevent VQ problems and understand what's happening on its UC network. In this particular case, what we ended up doing was setting up a probe at different locations throughout the campus, and we determined that they actually had a switch that was failing. It was an older switch that they didn't know was starting to fail. They replaced that switch, and that was able to resolve the problem for them. So again, in summary, MPA gives you control of your system. It facilitates the troubleshooting of network problems that you might have in your environment, and it can also find audio problems before they're being reported by your end users. That's all I had to show to you today. I hope you found this useful. Thank you for your time.